Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and welcome to my channel update for April 2018. Now, those of you who have been watching me for a while know the deal. I go ahead and do one of these each month to give you an indication of what's been going on. For the last several months, it's mostly been apologies. I got some actual news this time. And for those who are new, first of all, welcome to the channel. If you hadn't guessed by now, do coverage of role-playing games, both tabletop and computer. I tend to focus on the indie stuff because I do like to give them some exposure, and it's really fun to look at the various different ideas that these indie places have, both on tabletop and on computer. And I do kind of a mix of Let's Plays, of reviews, of live play stuff. Everybody who's just recently subscribed to me in the last month, thank you. Welcome aboard, and I really look forward to trying to continue to entertain you. I hope that you find me both informative, entertaining, maybe a little bit of each. So, without out of the way, let's go ahead and discuss what's been happening in the last month. First of all, video production. I tried to pick it up, and then I got set back, and I tried to pick it up, and then I got set back a little bit, not much. From the top of the month was pretty typical of people who live in America. You got taxes to do, and those who've been watching me know I already talked about that. Got them out of the way. Did some video stuff. I got a shelf of many things up. I had two of them written, but I only ended up putting one of them up. I started recording the long-awaited next season of Tabletops and Taverns, but I don't know when that's going to be up because I have to get the entire thing, and this particular season is going to involve some play on Roll20. For those who don't know, Tabletops and Taverns was a series I did for I think 2 years now, wherein I discussed specific topics to role-playing games. This year's was supposed to start back in February. It's basically going to be, this is how you design a campaign for Dungeons & Dragons. I'm focusing on 5th edition. It's been done before. It's been done a bunch. I'm also going to show from the player's point of view how to make a character and all that. It's very basic stuff, but I hope to kind of put it all together into a format that, some of my viewers have been asking me for it, so I'm going to try to explain it in my way. And I think that'll appeal to a different audience than some. And also, I'm not the greatest DM, far from it, but I'll show you how to very casually come up with an adventure, work with a campaign, that sort of thing. And that's all in there. I've already started recording on it. I'm going to wait till I've got the entire thing recorded, then start putting it up. Let's see. I got a bunch of reading and design work done, like aside from that. And here's the issue, is that I think I may have kind of screwed myself, because I have a lot of reading that I've done and a lot of reading that I have left to do. And it all boils down to what I'm going to cover in the next month or so in terms of reviews. First of all, those of you who know my Dungeons & Dragons retrospective, I'm up to D&D 4th edition. I guess you'll have to see how it comes out, because I'm not giving you any spoilers on that unless you've watched all of my videos so far, in which case you probably know my feelings on 4th edition. Not in detail, though, because I do have kind of a complex look at 4th edition. I have been asked what I thought about Dungeon World, and some people who have been watching my channel probably know that I have some complex feelings on that system as well, so I may take a look at that, but first I have a ton of stuff to do. First of all, I have been reading and rereading through the old Tunnels and Trolls stuff, because I do intend to do a proper review on the Tunnels and Trolls Deluxe. I think I held this up last month. I just never got around to finishing the review, because I realized something. And I realized that I wanted to do it kind of like a review and a mini retrospective. Kind of like my D&D retrospective, but I'm all going to put in one video. Or maybe a couple of videos, but it's going to be one continuous thing. Maybe like 2 or 3 videos on it. Because I want to cover the history of Tunnels and Trolls, because it is very interesting. It's very interesting. Very old school system. The fact that they're still putting out in modern day when a lot of the older minor systems failed, it's good. Anyway, I recently put up a shelf of many things on 4 Against Darkness. told you I might pick up the book, the expansion for Against the Abyss. Well, I did, and I'm flipping through it as I have time. Gonna try and play test it a little bit. Can already tell you that it's different. I don't know yet if it's as good as 4 Against Darkness. It's one of those ones that I can tell you right now they needed more editing on this particular book. But I will hold my other judgments for the review, which you will have to wait for to see. It'll be a Shelf of Many Things. Before I get to this, though, Shelf of Many Things is going to cover... you should see it on my computer back here. Explorers. I am going to cover that on Shelf of Many Things. I can already tell you... and the guy that's... the guy that's behind it is probably going to watch this. I can already tell you it's not going to get like my top end review. I'm gonna have to review it on the technical aspects, because it's a game system that is in a genre I don't particularly care for, of a type that I don't particularly care for, and it utilizes mechanics that are vaguer, because I'm more of a nuts and bolts kind of guy. And even though I like my RPG lights, and I love my RPG lights, I think this one goes a little bit too light for that. So I can already tell you it's probably not going to get the fight, but it's an interesting system, so I am going to give it a fair shake. I'm going to give it a fair shake, and I'm going to try to identify which parts of the system may appeal to people who like different kinds of RPGs than I do. So I'll get into that. It probably be... I don't know. This video, I am recording this video on Saturday the 28th of April, which I should have recorded earlier. Oh, where was I? Oh, yeah, back to the Shelf of Many Things stuff. I got that queued up. I'm going to give it a fair shake. But I have a ton of other reviews that I really want to do. One on my patrons. You'll see the high contributors that have given me permission to notify them at the end of the video. One of those two patrons, Pandavision, gave me or purchased me BattleTech, the game from Harebrained Studios, and I've been playing a lot of that. What do I think of it? I want to do a full review of it. Quick off the top of my head, I haven't finished it yet. I'm going to try and do like I'm going to try and bring back my full reviews, not on indie stuff. I don't want to qualify it as an RPG. That's the problem. It's not really an RPG. It's more a tactical game. It's got RPG elements, but it's a tactical game with randomized stuff. At least I think it's randomized. Not entirely sure. The missions kind of look randomized, on top of like a basic quest. But it just feels more like a tactical war game, which is good because I like those. It's turn-based like much of the Harebrained Studio stuff. I think it's a good adaptation. But that's from somebody who, if you haven't seen my shelf, I played BattleTech and MechWarrior a little bit back in the 90s and before. I think I actually got the BattleTech box set when I was very, very small. And I think I got that in like 89, like the late 80s. I am probably completely wrong with that. I do not own that set anymore. But I do own like the what is it? The compendium from like the 90s, and then from the early 90s, and then I've got the MechWarrior RPG from that same era. I never got to play it much. I could not get my groups to play BattleTech. I wanted to. I ran all kinds of like solo battles and stuff. I could not get my groups for the life of them, so I bought the MechWarrior, and I could not get them to play that. So, as far as I can tell, it's in line with the system. I haven't played any of the newer stuff. I have not played any of the newer stuff. I will have to look into it to see if it's in line, if it's more in line with that stuff. But in terms of that, I'm gonna get a proper review. I've been playing a lot of that. I want to play all the way through the main campaign before I go ahead and do the proper review. So it may be a little while. I'm not going to rush it because I've learned my lesson on rushing big name stuff. I kept saying I was going to finish Kingdom Come Deliverance and then put a review of that out. And I suck at Kingdom Come Deliverance. There's no way ifs, ands, or buts about it. I have not finished that game because I keep hitting a brick wall on it. I will try to come back to it. By now, like The iron is no longer hot, so a review of that I can do later. Tabletop game reviews. I've been wanting to review Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. I keep on mentioning this, but I'm putting it off again because I purchased something that I've been wanting to review for a long time. And it's going to be coming up in a review because I have finished reading through it, and I have played some example scenarios. The only thing I have left to do for this one before I can write up my review is to make a dungeon, assemble a group of other players, teach them the game, and then run it. And for those who do not know, this is Dungeon Fantasy, the box set from Steve Jackson Games. And what it is, it's a version of GURPS, the Generic Universal Role-Playing System, that's designed explicitly for dungeon crawling. Now, they had it come out over the last few years since 4th edition GURPS came out. They had been putting it out with basically like, their little supplement pamphlets or whatever with where you can get the PDFs. I think they've got hard copies. Don't quote me on that. I think a lot of them are just PDFs. And, they had like a couple dozen of those at one time. So what this box does, it doesn't have all of them. It cuts out some of the ones that are questionable and require more rules than they cover in this box. Streamlines the advantages and disadvantages from GURPS 4th edition and puts just what you need to dungeon crawl in this box. I haven't played it with a group yet. And that's going to be the kicker. That's going to be the test. Because I can tell you right now, GURPS Dungeon Fantasy, I don't know if many of my viewers have played GURPS. I didn't. I had the book. I had the 3rd edition book back in the day. I never got to play it much. I would start making a character, and we would spend all night making characters. I made plenty of characters for GURPS, but I think I only played it ever like once, and I didn't really get a lot done because we had taken like 3 hours to make characters, so we only really had like about 45 minutes left to play. So I'm looking forward to this because I have been trying to teach myself GURPS 4th edition, which brings me to another thing I want to review, and I don't know if I'm going to get to it this month because it is going to depend very much on whether I get the Dungeon Fantasy group play done. I'm prioritizing that review. So what you're going to be seeing coming out of me like immediately over the next probably couple weeks, because I'm basically in a mode where I'm buckling down and just scripting. I remember mentioning this a little while back that I was just going to have to spend a couple weeks and do nothing but scripting. I'm going to get the Shelf of Many Things, up to where I need it. Because I got like about 3 or 4 of those queued up that I want to do. I'm going to... So you'll see those come out. You'll see my Battletech review come out. And then you should see my Dungeon Fantasy review come out like middle of the month. But in between now and then, you'll also be seeing this come out. Because this came to my mailbox. I'm going to take the bookmarks out before I show it because these bookmarks have like information on them. This came into my mailbox, and I really want to do just a quick look at this one. This is Into the Borderlands. It's from Goodman Games, and I'm going to give you a quick look through because I want to do a full review on it. Because the first half of this book, it covers. I've been talking about this for some time. And you can tell I'm talking to the book, not the mic. I've been wanting to cover this for some time. It's a nice collector's style hardback that compiles the original B1 and B2 for BECMI D&D, the Rules Cyclopedia era, and before, because these were released back in the original, not the super original box sets, but like I think from the 3rd or 4th printings on, and then when it started transiting into BX territory. The B1 was included in a few, but then they moved over to just putting B2 into everything, with good reason, because B1 is an excellent module, but B2 is more fully fleshed out, so I can see why. Anyway, this has I think all of the original printings of B1 and B2 in it, like consecutively, so you can see the differences. I think if there's like no version differences, I don't think they put it, but they've got the major versions of B1 and B2. They've got introductory material from, let's see, from Luke Gygax, Mike Merles, Harley Stroh, Brendan LaSalle, who is the DCC. He writes some DCC stuff. He writes, let's see, he's written a bunch of adventures for a bunch of like old school OSR movement people. Let's see. Oh, Alex Kammer is the collector. Harley Stroh is Dungeon Crawl Classics guy. And then it's got some introductory material from. It's got an interview with Mike Carr, who was the product. You may have heard his name pop up when I did my Advanced Dungeons and Dragons one. He was the product. He was a product editor at that time, back in before Gygax got pushed out, during the height of the AD&D craze in the early '80s and the late '70s, the early '80s. So that is an interesting read. So it's all historical material in there. There's even got some notes from Frank Menser, who was not involved with these, but who gives some like background information on the process they did it that day. It's all very nice historical material. Don't know if it's worth the price of admission just for the interviews, because they're a very small part. But what it does have is the first half of the book is just reprints of the old modules, which are good for people who have not used them in the old system. But then the last half of the book is a 5th edition conversion for D&D 5th edition of B1 and B2 with additional material tossed in. And I actually bought the book for that. The historical stuff is nice and all, but I had a lot of it available, not the interviews and stuff, but I had a lot of the stuff available. But the real draw was the 5th edition conversion. I will be looking through that and then bringing the review up. And I know people are saying, "Oh, you're piling a lot on your plate," but I've got the reading for a lot of this stuff done already. I'm like about maybe a quarter of the way through reading this, and I should be done with it. I should be done reading this by the time that I've recorded this and the BattleTech one. So you should see like the BattleTech, you should see the Shelf of Many Things pop up, then the BattleTech, then this, then probably the Dungeon Fantasy one. And if I have any time, and somewhere in there maybe the Four Against the Abyss, I'm not sure on that one though. That depends on how interesting it is. And then sometime before the end of the month, I interrupted myself before I brought this up. Picked up GURPS 4th edition. Why did I pick up GURPS 4th edition? Gotta be honest, some of the people that I play with had expressed an interest in Dungeon Fantasy, and I will run it for them. If it works out, I will be running Dungeon Fantasy in like an extended campaign. Whether I'm going to put it up online, I don't know yet. I do not know yet. I've got to figure out how to make Roll20 handle GURPS, which it's got some support for it, but it's like not official support, and their hex grids on Roll20 kind of squirrely for me. I'm sure they're great for other people, and I'm sure I'm missing something, but I'm gonna have to go into that. Anyway, you know what? I don't mind having picked these books up, though, even if I don't get to run the campaign. I haven't read through a lot of them. I've like cracked a book open and started reading them, but then I have all this other stuff to do first. But I will say this: they're pretty books. They are real pretty books. I hate to be that guy, but yeah, there's some books I get that are just pretty, and I buy them and I put them on my shelf to look at. Like the Call of Cthulhu 7th edition books. I bought it because I wanted to run Call of Cthulhu, because I've never run Call of Cthulhu. I am a fan of H.P. Lovecraft. I have been a fan of the works since I was very small, but I have never I've never played. Well, I have finally played Call of Cthulhu because somebody online ran an adventure for me in Call of Cthulhu, and I think she was using 6th edition. I'm not sure, maybe 5th edition. I think 6th edition. And I had a lot of fun with it. I had played the one adventure, I had a lot of fun, but I have never actually got to run or play Call of Cthulhu. So I bought the Call of Cthulhu stuff. I'm going to put one down here. I've probably talked about this before. I've been meaning to review this for like 6 months now. And I have not got to yet. I bought it with a full intention of running Call of Cthulhu, and then I got super busy. But like when I actually pulled the book up, it's just a lavishly pretty book. It's just so nice looking. I mean, some people may give or take the color or the cover, but I think it's just a really nice book. I fully intend to run it, and I will do a full review on it once I've had a chance to, like really explore it. But even if I never do, it's just a pretty book. It's just a beautiful book. What else? Something I'm not going to review, but I want to call people's attention to. Well, I'm not going to review it right now. A while back, I reviewed Dungeons and Delvers Black Book. It's a nice little book. It's basically a hack of 4th edition to make it look like OSR, and it's cute. It's got limited class levels and such. It's got some neat concepts, and it's got some. I am a big fan of the artwork in this book. If you want to see my review, look up my review on Dungeons and Delvers Black Books. I did this a while back. Nice little book. They asked me to take a look and give feedback on something that came out, and I'm not going to do a full review on it. Well, I might do a full review on it later, but for now, I just want to call your attention. If you did pick up the Black Book, the Dungeons and Delvers, they have this thing called Appendix D, and they have been putting them out like as playtests for the Black Book. So what they did was they cleaned them up and they put them together in this one PDF. Dungeons and Delvers Appendix D that you can get separate. It's basically an expansion. It's got all kinds of optional rules. It actually has more pages than the actual Black Book. So it's like if Unearthed Arcana back from the 1st edition days. Like if it ended up being bigger than the DMG and the Player's Handbook combined, that's the kind of thing. Although these are really small books, so that's not really that hard. Haven't really finished looking through it. I'm gonna look through it. I'm gonna give the I'm gonna look through it. I'm gonna give the designers the Awful Good Games. I think. Yeah, Awful Good Games. I'm gonna give the designers my feedback on it. I may review it or I may not, but you see how much other stuff I have going. It looks interesting so far. I have only just started like browsing through it. I got to be honest. I started browsing through it, and then I remember that I was like, wait, I'm getting distracted. I'm getting super distracted. So I'm buckling down and reading through the other stuff. Should be good to go to look at it like probably next month sometime, if I do it at all. But anyway, distracted me from my main point. Main point is it's out. It's neat. I can't really give my 100% either way because I haven't had a chance to really look at it in depth. It's got a lot of interesting concepts that a lot of OSR people may want to look at if they bothered to check out the Dungeons and Delvers Black Book. So it might be useful. I don't think it's got print on demand. I don't think it's got print on demand yet. It might later. It might. Let's see. Aside from that is a full plate. I've got my Let's Play of Divinity Original Sin is coming to a close soon. I think because I'm coming up onto the last thing. I think last third or quarter of the game. I have been taking a little. I didn't mean to roll it that slow. I apologize for that. Last couple of weeks, especially, I intended to get back to the 3 to 4 a week thing. Then I took people's advice and I went back and respec'd my characters. Those of you who've been watching that probably know that. And I've been urged to take a look at the crafting before the end game. So I'll take a look at the crafting. I'll probably kill like about 4 hours before I even get it in front of a camera on it. I will do it behind the scenes, so you don't have to watch me fiddling with stuff for like a full episode. Yeah, because that is just so fascinating, just watching me fiddle with crafting for an episode. But I will get into it, and I'll probably give my look at it. Probably see one of those coming out. You know what? I'm saying this, but this doesn't go live for everybody until the end of for a couple of days. So you'll probably see the Divinity Original Sin crafting stuff like before, like if not before, then the same day this goes live. Now my patrons will see this before the Divinity Original Sin, but they get stuff a little early. Patrons also get access to my D&D 5th edition game for patrons, which has been kind of hit or miss. It's a kind of a mega dungeon. I've mentioned this before. I'm having fun with it. I think they're having fun with it, so let's hope they're having fun with it. More of the D&D live play for my Tomb of Annihilation super casual stuff there. I'm just basically treating that campaign just like I'm treating it like a relaxation, because that's what it is. That's my relaxation. That's me playing a game to play a game and not to play it for review. After Divinity Original Sin Enhanced Edition, Pillars of Eternity 2 will be out about the time I wrap it up. So I will be starting that. But I mentioned this in my last update. But it's looking pretty clear. It's pretty clear that I'm probably going to be finishing up Divinity Original Sin about the time. So I thought that it would line up earlier. Now I'm pretty sure it's going to line up earlier. I still got to play Divinity Original Sin 2. I have too many games to play. I have too many role-playing games to play. I'm starting to lose track of what's a role-playing game and what's not. But it's cool. I just gotta sit down and power through them. That's what it boils right down to. Let's see. Anything else? I haven't done an RPG story time in a long time. I have one that I said I was going to do to my patrons. Because that's just sitting in front of a camera, much like this, and just telling you about it. But I didn't have enough material for it. It was on traps. I'll try and look back through my notes and see if I have any more trap stories to relate. Because it all started with telling the tale of the dual-wielding thief that got his arm cut off in the first adventure. Yeah. Yeah, it was an old school one. I will try to get into that, but I have got new fodder for a general RPG story time. And that's another thing that I've been running on and off for like a freeform group. I've talked about them in the past. I'm not going to tell you where to get them just yet, because I may cover it in a later video. But it's like just text freeform role playing, and I don't want to flood the channel, because then the other operators will probably get on my case about it. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, it is an adventure which I may port to pen and paper, because I've got all of the notes for it. It needs a lot of cleanup, but I've got all the notes for it, which I basically based on the Soul series. Now, that having been said, it is a large group of people that are venturing there, so it's the solo go in there. Actually, you know what? We had a couple people journey into the whole situation that I've got set up. It's basically like this haunted town where this otherworldly entity has spawned all of these horrors, and some of them are bosses, and most of them are like just little soldiers and whatever. And it's got fortifications. It's like out in this haunted forest, and they've got this like base camp that's like held by paladins, and then they just make forays into it, and they're trying to track down the entity behind it all. And a couple of them tried soloing stuff, and it went about as well as you'd expect a Dark Souls game to go. The problem is that there's no respawn in this one. So when they died, when their characters died, they're dead. So I mean, there's ways to bring them back, but it's not just a you've died and then respawn. No, they're dead. So they gotta get the characters back somehow. But for the rest of the group, that's how I balanced it, because they had a large number of people, and if they're moving as a team, I tried to capture the atmosphere of it, not necessarily the specific gameplay elements, because you can't really do that through a text medium. But I think I did fairly well. They seem to be enjoying it. I don't know when it's going to end. Whenever it ends, I'll go ahead and do an RPG story time and tell you all the highlights. Hopefully it'll be interesting. Anyway, I have a ton of writing to do, so I am going to cut this video here, and I will put it up for my patrons, and then I will put it up live for the rest of you beautiful people at the end of the month, which is the end of the month, but I mean on the last day of the month. So thank you for watching. I really, truly appreciate all the views, all the commentary I'm getting. In fact, in terms of comments, if you got any feedback on my channel in general, this is the video that you want to put them on, because this'll be the one where I kind of gather them together so I can look at them again later. Anyway, I will leave it here. If you like what you've seen, remember to leave a like, comment if you got any feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content, both tabletop and computer. If you're feeling particularly generous, as I said, I got a Patreon at patreon.com/RPGcrawler. Until next time, take care and goodbye.